Hey, I'm Des.
Hey y'all, I'm Sai.
And we're the co hosts of Let's Talk Sis podcast, where we truly believe that together empowered women can transform their lives.
Join us for heartfelt stories, enlightening conversations, and a whole lot of accountability along the way. Hey y'all.
Hey.
So we're back with another episode.
Yes, we are.
And what are we talking about today?
Life.
Okay.
We're going to talk about just timing. Life's timing, your timing, God's timing.
Yeah.
And just being prepared and ready. Are you ever actually ready?
That's good.
So, yeah, let's dive into that.
I think this is going to be really good because this is a continuation of the conversation we just had amongst ourselves. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to invite our community into the conversation. And I'm sure that there is going to be women who relate to this or women who are on the other side of this and, just find what we're saying relatable because this is real. And I also feel like I've never heard anyone have this conversation.
I don't think so neither. And it's very real life. It's a conversation that you don't hear, but once you have it, everybody be like, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this is really good and it's really necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, well, let's start with the question. Do you feel like in life in general, are you ever actually ready?
Does ready even exist?
Seriously. Like when it comes to everything, as a woman especially, is when it comes to kids, marriage, relationship, are you ready? I feel like as an adolescent, I said many times, like, when I'm ready to have kids or when I'm ready to get married, and now it's like the older I get, will I ever be ready? Or what does ready feel like? How will I know when I am ready?
Yeah, that's good.
So I think, yeah.
You saying what does ready even feel like is huge, right? And I think we just talked about this on the last episode, right? Last week when we were talking about self-sufficiency, right?
Yes.
And just making the dots connect because we just have a way of putting our hands in things,
Where they don't belong.
Yeah, like imagine being, I don't know, like that little girl and you thinking about a family, like by the time I'm 25.
I'm about to say my age was 25.
Yeah, I'm going to be married. I'm going to have the kid.
Ooh. Don't even got a boo. Talk about marriage. Sick.
Clock. But no, but seriously, you like, oh, I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm a this to the third. And you really just realize that trying to associate your milestones or your goals or achievements with age is kind of insane.
It's
like
very insane.
What do they say? Diabolical.
I feel like that is one of the delusions. I list that as one of the delusions as a child with being, because realistically speaking, like that was my goal, my age. By the time I'm 25, I'm going to be married and I'm going to be either having or had my first child. Like 25 was my age. I'm going to be set. I'm going to be in real life because I'm grown.
Well, sis, how old are you?
About to be 25.
Girl, you still got time. You got time.
Girl, no. Life doesn't permit for that. But yeah, that's where the ready conversation comes in, because at what point, like, you'll never be ready. Kind of similar to the previous conversation I had, we had when I said that experience is life's greatest teacher. You won't know you're ready until you jump into it. That's like, even if we use the podcast for reference, if we would have waited till we was ready, we would have never been ready. It would have never happened.
Yeah. I agree, and I think that that sounds really good, but readiness, I don't know, it exists for me to an extent, and I think that as I get older and wiser, I'm starting to realize that ready looks different, or the readiness and things that I think needs to be involved to be ready are different, right? It's not more so all external.
Yeah.
There is more like internal involved with that. But to me, I feel like ready still, like I still have this level or this need of ready, just having my hands in it, and just, I think ultimately it's fair, right? Okay. Because I have this strong urge to just take a hold of life. And it's so crazy, and it could definitely be hypocritical to talk about submitting and surrendering, but to sit here to tell y'all, like, I just feel at 26 that I am not ready to be a mom. you know? And I think when I sat down with myself and I asked myself these questions, like, why? You know, because my mom is like, when am I having a grandchild? Or all my friends have kids and I have 4 godchildren. So you do feel like, not a burden, and I don't want to say guilt, but you feel this urge a little bit, like, okay, like pressure. It's like peer pressure almost, right? But I can always fight the peer pressure off because I just feel like I'm not ready. And what does ready mean, right? I just feel like I'm not financially stable enough for children, you know? Yeah. And when I ask myself why, going back to that, it's because I lived a life that was very, and my mom, she did the best that she could, right? But I was raised off of strictly survival. Okay. You know? Yeah. And just considering that, it's like, if I could take an extra amount of time to dedicate myself to becoming more of a woman who is more financially stable, a woman who is doing the work, the shadow work, right? Investing in become like a more healed version of myself. Yes. If I had the time and opportunity to do that now before I have children, why would I not do that? You know?
That's very true.
But I'm kind of torn in between, where is the thin line between you always going to be working towards something. I was about to say,
you always going to want to be better than what you are.
Yeah, so it's just, I don't know. I feel like I'm walking on thin ice. And, you know, discernment is very important for sure. But I just have so much more work to do. Yeah. Like, I've come far, but I have so much more work to do.
Yeah. And that's where my not being ready goes into place. For example, like, you know how you can say you've grown or you've changed, but you don't know if you've grown or you changed until the circumstances or the opportunity presents itself to test your growth. And that's what I learned a lot for myself. So although I am not financially ready for a child, that's not one of my main concerns. My main concern is being mentally ready. Do I have patience for a child? Do I want, and it may sound selfish, but it's like, do I even want to share my life? Because once you have a child, ultimately, especially as a mother, it's no longer about you fully. Mm-hmm. I don't want to say it's not about you at all, but it's not like you got a person
to consider,
to base your whole life around. So that's what I'm not ready for.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, just to add like another level of like, I'm not ready to this, like to thicken the plot. It's like, I look at all the mothers that I have around me and they do a heck of a job, right? Yeah. But they often, like, every time I talk to my friends that have children, the first thing they say is, girl, don't have no kids. And I'm like,
see,
like, God, is that you? See? Is that you using a vessel?
I'm telling you.
But it's like, when you look at all the sacrifices that these women have to make and all of the, I don't know, like stress and I'm sure for them, like, it's worth it. Yeah. But if I could do without that for just a little bit longer.
I agree. But I also want to say, like you said, look at all of the stress and the things that these women go through with these children. You know how much that probably groomed them, grew them, matured them. So they've probably grown aspects to themselves that they would have never probably came across because the situation, like I said, never presented itself for that level of you to be tested. Yeah. Like, I think I'm this so super understanding, nice person. I'm so empathetic, but then I'll be met with a child and then it's like,
I thought
can I send this back?
Can I return to sender, please, expeditiously?
Yeah. So, and then that's something that and I feel like with myself, I'm quite impulsive with my decisions, whether it's moving, making a big new purchase or anything. I know that I can tend to be decisive. So when depending on what it is, when a thought pops in my head, I'm like, I'm gonna just do it. I'm gonna just do it so I won't have time to change my mind later. When I make these decisions, these aren't decisions that I can't turn back from. Mm-hmm. Remember what's the worst that can happen? Mm-hmm. Well, the worst that can happen is what you end back up where you started. But with a child, you can't waver that what's the worst that can happen. Like,
I don't know.
Because the worst that can happen won't only be detrimental to you, but now there's an entire human being involved. So, I don't know. But the question is, because I feel like we kind of base this around motherhood or, children. Do you feel like right now where you are in life, do you feel like you're ready for anything? Is there anything in particular you could say, I wasn't ready for this before, but I'm ready now?
No.
Okay.
Not when it comes to the things that I feel like are serious, right?
Okay.
So like career wise, I feel like I'm in a phase of like career development.
Okay.
I'm just now arriving at a place where I've always been like this person who starts, you know? I'm always just after this need of just stimulation, like wanting to be stimulated, right? And now I'm mature and wise enough to know, okay, you can still go after everything that you want and you desire, but strategy is very important, you know? Timing is very important as
Maturity.
well. So I'm at that point, but when I think about it in totality, no, I'm not.
Okay.
But the thing is, you'll never be like, even when it comes to dating, like, I'm like, oh no, I'm not dating. I haven't seriously dated. Yeah. And, you know, I just want to work on this. And I notice that this shows up when I'm like, this is a pattern of mine that's showing up. And it's like, well, how are you going to know when the pattern ends if you're not in the midst of it and it's constantly showing up? Like, how do you get over a trigger if you're not working through the trigger, you know?
And that's what I mean by you don't know true change until the opportunity presents itself. Because, for example, in dating, it was similar for me. I'm not gonna lie, like I just knew I was ready. First of all, backstory, a little bit of transparency. I'm like a relationship girl. I feel like I've been in a relationship all my life. Like I love love. So I'm like, oh yeah, I'm ready for dating. I gotta find my husband, you know, whatever the case may be. And then I actually started dating and realized that I'm the problem. I'm not ready in any way, shape, or form. I'm not ready. I don't want to talk every time you call me. I don't feel like talking at all today, actually, and I don't want to explain it. I don't feel like, you know, I realized that I just wasn't ready, but I didn't realize that until I actually went and said, like, okay, let me try to do this or let me do that. Because when it's just me, myself, and I'm like, oh, okay, I could date. I could, you know, but no, I'm not ready for that. Okay. And I wouldn't have known that if I didn't start it.
Okay, so I have a question. You said you're not ready, right? So my question is, why do you feel like you're not ready, right? And I'm asking this because I feel like we can relate to each other when we say we're always just by ourselves, right? Yeah. And solitude, I feel like isolation in general is really a double-edged sword. Like, isolation will really feel so good and be so detrimental. Like, that's really the playground for the enemy to, like, attack literally when it comes to like whether it's socializing or dating and anxiety and all of these things. So it's like, is it that, or do you genuinely feel not ready, and if so, why not?
Well, for me, I genuinely feel like I'm not ready because I've always been about other people in a sense. I feel like I'm always surrounded by other people. I've always was in a relationship or of some sort, and I was just always about someone else. So in this season I'm currently in, the fact that I feel like before is like I'll take moments to myself, I'll take time to myself just because I know like that's what I need or that's required. The solitude that I'm feeling now is something I've never felt in life before, and I feel like I'm very deserving of it. And I also feel like it's very necessary.
I love that.
And I think I need this moment. I don't know how long the moment will last, but I need this to be ready for a significant other or partner. I spent so much of my time tending to others. I feel like I didn't completely fill up myself as much as I should have to be ready to. Because I'm always worried about somebody being good for me. But the question ultimately is, am I good for somebody else? Yeah. Not, you know,
I think that's a really good question too. Just playing devil's advocate in a sense, and just being like, you know, I have this long list of standards and expectations when it comes to my friends and partners and just how I feel people should carry me. Yeah. But am I doing a good job at reciprocating that? You know, being a good steward of whatever I'm given. And I think that I've arrived at that point immediately after my last relationship, right? And I had time to reflect, and it was just like, well, I could see how I wasn't pouring into him in this way. Or, you know, even in friendships, which is so crazy because this conversation is not even about that. But I feel like in friendships, I do so much of a better job of being a good steward of what's given to me, you know? Just showing up and just really genuinely being there. Whereas though I'm realizing in my intimate relationships, I'm not the same person, or I don't mirror the same characteristics or values in a sense. Yeah. I don't know.
I feel like this is something that I kind of came to the realization of before, but I'm fully understanding now, is that you really can't, you have to fill you up to pour into others. And I feel like something that I thought I was so good at was just like showing up. Even when I don't feel good, I try to show up. But I realized that not only am I doing myself a disservice, but I'm doing the opposite party a disservice as well. Because although I think that I'm still being here for you, or I'm still being a good person, or whatever the case may be, I may not be coming off that way simply because I'm not full within myself. And I think I'm able to mask it or not show it, but it's pretty noticeable. So you really have to fill yourself up in order to be, a good person or a good partner to anybody else. And that's friendships, relationships, or whatever. So back to the question, I feel like I'm taking advantage of the time right now and the phase I'm in right now to completely fill up on me and to learn how to tend to myself and to even acknowledge or realize when it is time to tend to myself.
Right.
Because, you get so caught up in, I've gotten so caught up in worried about everything and everybody else. It's like, I don't even know my point of when I need to just sit down and shut it out. So now I feel like I know that I'm coming to that.
Yeah. I want to ask you the initial question, but from maybe a different perspective or approach, right? So do you feel like you could ever be ready in the instance of following your dreams? And has there ever been a moment when you wanted to do something, or like had a vision, had a goal, and you just felt like you kept telling yourself like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, but
don't do it?
You don't do it.
As far as you said, like goals or stuff? Not in a sense of not feeling ready. Personally, I have had, I'm working on it, and I'm becoming better now, but I've had a huge procrastination problem. So with procrastination, it's not intentional. It's not intentional to really not start today or really not start tomorrow or Monday. So I wouldn't never say like I've pushed something off as far as goals in the point of not being ready. No, because I'm a really firm believer in just jumping for it, going for it. I do that with a lot of stuff. I just go for it. Yeah. So no, not as far as that. Now, as far as other things, yes, but not as far as goals, really.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Have you ever experienced a time where you feel like your flagpole moved, right? Meaning that, okay, I set this goal for myself, like, for example, you said when you were younger, your flagpole was at 25. When I'm 25, I'm going to have a child. This in the third. You moved your flagpole. So why did you move it? And what made you feel like you had to move it?
Well, life happened. I start getting closer to 25 and seeing that wasn't the thing. Now, in that aspect of my specific one at 25, married with kids, it could have been my life. I feel like that could have happened. I feel like 2 years ago I was on a path. It could have happened. But in the midst of deeply, deeply choosing what I want and feel in the moment and not what I wanted 5 years ago or what I thought the ideal goal was, it's like, okay, Destiny, you thought that when you were 15 and that was your mindset. But knowing what you know now and being the person you are today, is this the route you want to keep?
Yeah.
To be 25, would it? Because I could have just been like, okay, I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna just do that just to meet that goal. But it's like, is that fulfilling to who I am today? No, it's not. Yeah, that's not fulfilling. It's not realistic. It's not, because as you grow, as you mature, you change. Your wants, your desires, your needs change. So with my growth, I realize I need so much more from my person and also from myself for me to even be that married with kids or whatever it was that I seen for myself. So in those moments of realization and also self-awareness was when it's like, Yeah, that got to get pushed back sometimes.
Yeah, I guess what I'm just trying to ask ultimately is, it sounds like the flagpole is based off of where you are speaking from, if that makes sense. Like, who am I today, and I'm setting a goal for the future. Does that make sense?
Somewhat.
Okay, so I guess what I'm just trying to get down to is, how do you know in what moments to prioritize your future self or your present self?
Okay, so in what moments do you... Okay, you always need to prioritize your present self, because your present is who and what's building your future. You can't... That's like chasing the finish line too much or too hard to where as though you lose track of who and what you are now. If you don't maintain your person, yourself, your body today, then you probably won't even make it to the finish line. You have to nurture yourself along the way. So in my instance, it was the moment when I realized, okay, I'm 23 or 22, 23, whatever, and I'm in this relationship, and I could be on this track by 25, but am I happy? Is this what I want to deal with? Am I settling? Am I, like, is this who I want to be? Is, like, those questions come into point, and then it's like, okay, plans got to switch a little bit. Mm-hmm. This is not the way I intended for it to go.
Yeah.
So that's when it moves. But I feel like there is a thin line, because you do want to keep your eyes on the prize, mm-hmm. but you have to nurture yourself along the way.
Yeah. I want to speak, like, this may or may not, like, be correlated mm-hmm. to that specific aspect of being ready when it comes to relationships, right? Mm-hmm. But I feel like sometimes we literally get so we're so committed, so invested to where we see our flagpole being, mm-hmm. right? And it's like when our feet haven't even touched the ground in that proximity, right?
Yeah.
It's like, how do we get so involved and so invested in things that we have no idea of what to expect?
Yeah.
We've never tasted it. We never seen it. We never smelt it. We never heard it. Like, how do we get so far? Like, it's like mentally, we're so far going sometimes. Yeah. And I think it's kind of dangerous to be so committed to something. Mm-hmm. But then on the other end of it, I feel like a hypocrite to even say that, because that's ultimately what manifestation is.
Yeah. And I also want to say, though, because I feel like you have to be specific on this. When my flagpole moved, it wasn't necessarily a definite move, because as we were talking about previously, I'm always open to what God has in store for me. Mm-hmm. Tell me God gonna find my husband tomorrow, and I'm gonna be like, yep, that's gonna happen. Like, I'm always open in knowing, because in every aspect of my life, I do invite God in, especially as far as becoming my future self and moving forward and even maneuvering through my days. So I'm not saying it's a definite that I'm going to be 30, mm-hmm. Or whatever the case may be, but it's just that I feel like my ideal mind is like, all right, I'm going to push that back a little bit. But also, if it happens, it happens.
Yeah. I don't know. I want to take the conversation back to motherhood, because I feel like this is something that has really been weighing on me lately. I be feeling sometimes like, oh my gosh, am I going to be... Okay, so it was this meme I think I posted in my close friends mm-hmm. the other day, and it was like me on my way to take my child to school. Oh, me taking my child...
At 65?
First day... Yeah,
I posted that in my close friends.
First day of school pictures at 65, and it's like... Mm-hmm. Will I really be okay if I'm having my first child?
You know what's crazy?
At 45.
You know what's crazy? I feel like I think about things like that quite often. I think about that often only because then I start getting into numbers and age. Like, dang, at the high school graduation, I'm gonna be how old? And then I'm gonna be, dang, am I gonna be in a wheelchair? Am I gonna be able, like, stuff like that? But that's when you leave it to God. Yeah. You can't try to dissect that too much or control that too much. Mm-hmm. You got to fully leave it to him to, take.
Shout out to Ashanti, because she like 44, I think, and she having her first child.
And that's another thing. I feel like that's all inspiring. Of that goes into health. Mm-hmm. It's just health, the way you carry yourself, maintain yourself, and nurture yourself. That's again why I said you got to nurture yourself along the way. Yeah. You have to.
I mean, I'm just being transparent and sharing how I really feel about it because, when your mom is in your ear telling you like, oh, I'm free now. Everybody, all my kids is grown. She's traveling, getting up and going when she want, and she still has so much life to live. At 44, it's like, okay, she has 3 kids, and she had her first child at 17, 18, or whatever the case may be. So it's like, I'm torn between the two.
I was about to say, you trying to live your life now or later.
Right, exactly. But, like you said, just submitting to the plan.
But that's another thing as well I feel like comes into being ready, for me especially when kids come into the picture. Because when I have my kids, we was talking about this the other day as well, it's like when that day does come, I don't want to feel like my life has came to a halt. I don't want to feel like my life is over. I don't want to feel like I can't live, travel, hang out, be free anymore. I don't want to feel like it's a burden. Mm-hmm. I want my kid to travel with me. I don't want life to stop at all. Mm. So when I time it, it don't be like all right, I'm going to get this age and be stuck doing this, that, and the third with a child. Yeah. I feel like the moments I'm in now is halfway, because obviously I need a partner, but halfway setting up myself to be more in freedom when I do bring this person into the world. Yeah. But everything, you got to set it up. You got to prep. Everything comes with preparation. And right now, we're prepping ourselves. That's just what it is.
Perspective.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're not prepping yourself right now?
I am, but like too much prep is going to leave me lonely.
Oh, you ready for a child now?
If I had a partner, see, I be basing things off of like 2 different perspectives, because if I had a partner, yes, I think that's also something else that plays into my perspective as well, because not too many people that have children are in 2 income and 2 parent households and mm-hmm. 2 people don't have a helpmate. So when I'm seeing these women say, oh, don't have children or hold off on children for as long as you can, they're overwhelmed. They're anxious. They are stressed out because it's literally just them, like trying to maintain and survive. So that's a whole different avenue that plays into my decision of like readiness.
So let me draw back. Are you ready to be a wife today?
Okay, I'm not ready as far as the attributes. Like, I got some nasty ways about me.
So it's a yes or no. So he's talking about as far as the attributes. You can't be halfway ready.
No, because listen, I feel like I have I'm sorry, I keep saying that. I really have more work to do, mm-hmm. but I'm willing to do the work along, like, by the being next to someone, if that makes sense.
Okay. So do you feel like your work on yourself has been done enough to this point to where so you won't be doing your partner a disservice?
I don't think that it will ever be done.
No, I'm not saying it like that, but you're saying
I don't think there's enough. I don't think that there is something that is just like, okay, I feel like I'm self-aware enough mm-hmm. to identify the things that need to be worked on. So whenever I am triggered, it's like, okay, I know I'm going to respond like this, and mm-hmm. I need to work on this, or I need to learn how to communicate. Like, I'm aware of the things that I need to communicate.
Right. And I'm understanding that. I don't think it's ever a time when it's going to be done, but I'm saying the aspects in your life that you feel like you need to continue growing on, like you said, the way you get triggered or your anger or whatever the case may be, or even being selfish. Do you feel like if you was to meet a man today that's ready to be a husband, would you be doing him a disservice by you still trying to pull the weight along the way?
No, I don't think so. I don't even look at it as weight. I look at it as a process. Okay. I don't think that even when the relationship grows and you get to know somebody, that's a process. Yeah. People that I've been in relationships with also change. People grow themselves individually while they're in a relationship. So I don't look at it as baggage or weight or anything, only because I'm actively working on it. Now, if it was me a few years ago who hasn't started the work but knew that I needed to do some type of work, then it would be like, okay, this is baggage that I haven't even touched, I haven't unpacked, I haven't even dissect or anything. So now I'm bringing all this dirty laundry into this without dealing with it. But I'm actively dealing with it. I'm actively working through it. So it's like, I'm not just like, this is how I come, this is how I am. Just
No, I'm not saying it. I'm saying it like, for example, you mentioned your triggers or things of that sort. So would it be fair to this person? Yeah. And then also another thing with your readiness, because you mentioned your friends and stuff all having kids. Is your readiness because your clock is ticking, or is your readiness just with who you are today?
Yeah, I feel it don't like my readiness. It might like I don't know. It's like I keep saying, it's two different perspectives. But there's this attribute like okay, I want to have more money. I want this. I want this. I want like all of these things. But that really doesn't matter. It matters when I'm by myself, but I feel like it doesn't matter when I have a community. You know?
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense. But if I have like a village, I feel like it doesn't matter. Because I feel like financially in a 2-income household, it's enough. The support is enough. Like my friends and family being around like is enough. You know? I feel like I'm mentally and in a good space where I'm able to navigate that transition as I am with any other transition. Like we just talked about, transitioning within the last almost year has been something, but I'm able to pivot and transition through that. I think it really just comes down to like your mental state and the capacity in a sense. So
for sure.
Well, that's good. That's really good.
Yeah, that's good. And the reason why I was asking those questions is because kind of like when I was saying, I think my point of view is a little bit different when I talk about my readiness for children or a husband or anything of that sort. It's because firstly, I wasn't thinking financially, because I'm thinking, well, I know for a fact the day I do decide to have a child, finances, when that time happens, finances is not going to be a thing.
But so, why do you like, this is what I'm saying. Why, like, where did we get this narrative from?
What narrative?
Of like needing to rely on just like, where does, I don't know. Maybe it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing, right? Because that's kind of what's keeping us secure. I think it's security.
No, I think you're missing what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that my readiness has nothing to do with finances. It is not.
But you countered that statement.
Because you said yours, because you wasn't financially ready for a child. I said I didn't think about finances at all. And I also didn't think about like family or community. I think that does play a big role, but I'm comfortable with that aspect of my life now. My problem, well, not problem, but my non-readiness is internally completely. I think I'm too mentally and internally, I'm too selfish to be somebody's wife or mother right now.
But that's where you are right now. And I feel like that's relatable to, like, for me as well. Like, I think that I am those things as well. But I think the question and why my mindset is a little bit different than yours is because I'm committed to changing that. Like, I'm not dwelling in that right now. See, whereas though I feel like for you, you spoke about how you shared yourself for so long and you're basking in your solitude. So for you, you may want to maintain a level of selfishness and, you know, reservations, like staying to yourself for a little bit. Whereas though for me, it's kind of like, selfishness is where I am today in this moment, but I'm actively working towards
not being selfish.
Exactly. You know? Yeah. So I think that's the difference.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I don't know. It feels good now, but I'm going to come back to this when I'm like 30.
That's what I was thinking.
And if I'm 30 and still feeling like this, then we're going to have some concerns. I'm going to be worried at that point.
Yeah, I was like, I can't wait until this episode ages and we come back and we just like... Yes.
And it's crazy because that's how I feel about all the episodes. That's one of my favorite things about the podcast, it's being able to view back, because I'm not going to lie, I was recently within the past week knowing that we were about to start recording. I've been watching back on the previous seasons from season 1, episode 1 to, season 2, episode 10. And I've been listening, and just a lot of moments it'd be like cringe, like, ugh.
Really?
For me. Some of the stuff that I just said or even felt, like, even with being such a people pleaser, it's like, yuck. It's like, yuck. So definitely acknowledging and being aware of your growth, but being able to visually watch it, it's like, okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it feels so different, but even looking, it looks so different.
Yeah. I don't know. So, it's like sharing your journey alongside of everyone else. So yes. I'm excited, and as we continue to just push out more episodes and share more of our journey and being more transparent, I'm excited to have this be like something not only for us to look back towards, but like hopefully our kids will be looking towards us like, my mommy was on YouTube.
Whole time it's going to turn around and I'm going to be married with a child next year. And then when I have a 5-year-old at 30, they're going to be like, you thought you thought you was going to be. No, that's crazy.
This conversation was really good. Yeah. I feel like it was necessary to have. Yeah. And when y'all are listening to this, please chime in from both perspectives. Yes. We want y'all to be involved in a part of the conversation.
Yeah. And I also want to piggyback off of what Sa said, for the moms that didn't think they were ready and then come to find out you were completely ready with the tools you. I would just want opinions, and I also want advice.
Like, were you ready?
Yeah. Like,
does ready even exist?
Does it exist? Yeah.
Are we tripping? Like, yeah, are we in too deep over our heads? Yeah. I know y'all probably laughed at us a few times. Yeah.
And then also I want to say, for my people that can probably relate to me a little bit, like, should I be worried? Am I in a good space right now, or is this maybe detrimental to my future? Like, should I have some concerns?
All the therapists tap in.
Please. Please tap in. We need advice. Yeah, I need to know. Am I working backwards?
We need advice. We need advice. Yeah. All right, so what's your word of advice for a sister?
My word of advice for a sister today would be...
You want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so my word of advice for a sister would be to...
You offered to go first, so you not to know.
I drew a blank.
My word of advice for a sister would be to fill your cup up. Pour into you, nourish yourself, and worry about everything and everybody else afterwards. Lock in with you and God and try your best to become the best you know to be, or the best you're able to be, and just do your best. Like, do the best you can do. Yeah. That kind of goes on to what I was saying before. Like, if I can't control it, I'm not worried or stressing about it. So whatever's in your control, then handle that. Anything beyond that, leave it up to God. That's my advice.
Okay, so my word of advice is to take some accountability and really just ask yourself, with all that I expect and all that I require, right? From whether it be a friend or your mom or a partner, whatever the case may be, ask yourself, for everything that you expect, I want you to ask yourself, am I giving this in return?
Yeah. And I also, before we end the episode, can we pull a card from our conversational card game, Let's Talk Sister? I'm going to go first. Okay. Well, this is good. What do you think we could learn from each other?
I probably learned how selfish I was from you. And I know that wasn't a past tense question, but yeah. I think you said you selfish, and I think it's selfish in ways of like just self-preservation.
No, yeah, I said I've been feeling selfish lately.
Okay, but say not selfish in as far as like, just being a selfish person when it comes to like being present for somebody, but you definitely showed me in which ways I'm selfish. Yeah. And I think I haven't always been selfish. I feel like I became selfish as a result of what you're in right now. You know, that season of like showing up for everybody.
I'm not there now.
No, I'm saying I became selfish as a result of that.
Oh, okay.
So now I'm trying to find my way out of that, if that makes sense. Like, I felt like before I moved 2 years ago, I was showing up for everyone. I had this need of just like being present and being a good friend and all of these things. And when I moved, I isolated. So
that's what I mean by, am I doing myself a disservice? Because I just got to this area of my life from being there, of being so full of committed to everybody else. And it's like, it feels too good.
Yeah, but I think you should bask in it. I think it's a part of the journey, and I think that where I am is finding the balance between the two. Okay. Because I'm coming out of that, like where you just entered, and I think this next season for me is going to be having that balance, between selfishness and just being selfful in a sense. But yeah, that was good.
And also, if I answer the same question, I would like to piggyback off of that, because I feel like in a way we are very opposite, and I feel like being around you so much has been able to teach me boundaries, or my lack thereof boundaries. Yeah, I feel like just being around you, or even being around you when you maneuver around other people, it's like it'd be so freeing to not care. And like you said, there's a balance and there's a thin line in between, but going from caring absolutely too much till it's like that might feel a little bit better.
Yeah. So it's so crazy. A moment of transparency. The other day I was in the shower and I just started crying because I'm like, God, you worked me through a season where I literally could not feel, right? Mm-hmm. I was literally numb just from trauma or whatever. And now I feel too emotional, like, what's going on? So I'm excited for, like I said, that to step out of this season and to have that balance between the two, because I be feeling like, why do I even care about this? Like, I'm forcing myself to not want to care about things, but yeah.
And that's a balance between what to care about and what not to care about, because I feel like I've been there to either care about every single thing or to not care about nothing at all. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's awareness and growth as well. Yeah, it's all a process.
Mm-hmm. Well, y'all,
there goes another episode. Yes, episode 2.
Yes, thank you for tuning in.
Yep.
We are excited and really honored to have you guys be a part of another episode with us and
another season with us as well.
Yeah. Emphasis on that. Give it up for us.
We are back and we're so much better, okay? So yeah, thank you guys for tuning in to another chat, and tune in, comment, leave your responses. We want this to be an open conversation. So everything we're speaking about, if anything stood out to you or raised a light bulb or whatever in your head, comment and let us know how you feel. Let us know if we are crazy or delusional, or, just give your 2 cents. So, toodles.
Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning into our podcast, Let's Talk Sis, with Des and Sa.
Stay connected by following us on all of your favorite social media platforms. And don't forget, use hashtag Dear Sister Let's Talk to find us.
Wait, before you go, head over to our website or our Instagram and join our interactive community for a daily dose of sisterhood, where like-minded women fellowship, encourage, and create a safe space amongst one another.
See you inside, sis.
Toodles.
Bye.